You're going to want to go into your tools section and then options and then audio settings and mess with the speakers and microphone settings there until we can hear you.
No passengers who have boarded the plane will give up the seat to someone else. All this in response to a viral video. Where
all right, well, he hung up. Did you see him? Oh, yeah, you're not watching the feed, are you?
Yeah, I'm watching it. It gives me the option to accept video. I don't know why that is.
Oh, I don't know. I think when he first picked up, he initially picked up with the camera on.
Okay.
For April 14, 2017.
Hey, but I'm calling him back, and it's just going directly to call failed. I don't know what to do, bro. Shit.
Hair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache.
Oh, there we go. Looks like you got.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Do you have audio?
Hey, Brock, how's it going?
Do you have audio now?
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yep, I hear you.
Okay,
All
let's
right.
do a quick mic check, Brock. I don't know if you can get closer to your I don't know what mic you're using, but
How is this now?
it's good. I mean, it's just
It's a
got a
slight
little bit of
tunnel
feedback,
effect,
but
yeah.
yeah.
And how is it now?
Slightly
The
better.
same. I guess you're in a room with tile, or in a room in the bathroom or something.
No. Here, I'll just move to a different. Let me move on to a different surface.
There you go.
I like your Sherlock Holmes there, Rick. You killed Colonel Mustard in the library with a candlestick, didn't you? I can tell by the quality of your vocal feed.
Nice. Alrighty, bro.
How is the
Or Brock.
how is the audio now?
Better.
All right.
Better. Yeah, we can deal with that.
Okay.
All right, here we go, guys.
All right. Welcome to the Crypto Show on 89.1 FM, the Logos Radio Network. We're coming to you live from the real heart of the resistance, the most dangerous studio on the planet. At Defense Distributed, home of the Ghost Gunner and the Crypto D&D Studio, where we're printing and milling out freedom, undermining the banks and the man, but having some fun while we do it.
Chief, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
The pinky and the brain, yes, pinky and the brain. One is a genius, the other's insane. They're laboratory mice, their genes have been sliced. They're pinky and the brain.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the Crypto Show.
Or the Build a Strange Gun in our studio while we're on air.
Right in front of us at our table. But you know what? We don't mind. We think that's cool, actually. That helps us concentrate. It helps us feel a renewed sense of optimism about the world, because we're here in the studios, or I should say offices, of Defense Distributed that operate as our studio. And we're ever so grateful to Cody Wilson and all of his, I don't want to say employees, partners. His partners in the endeavor that is Defense Distributed, for allowing us to use this space. And nothing gets me going like seeing someone clean a gun in front of me. Oh, yeah.
He's building one.
What is it? Oh, you're prototyping one. Oh, that's even cooler. Cleaning a gun in front of me. Anyway, let's move on from there. It is April 19th, 2017. It is a day before, you know what? Come on. Hitler's birthday.
Oh.
No, it is a day before 420, and that's going to be relevant to our guest in the second hour, Niel Schlosss, I believe, who is from CannaScense, CannaScense.org. We had, of course, Jordan Page. Jordan Peterson is the Canadian professor dude who's pretty cool. Jordan Page, the singer-songwriter libertarian who is working with CannaScense on recently to discuss that organization and what they do. Niel Schlosss actually works directly with CannaScense, so we're going to find out some recent developments that are happening with them, and just have a little reminder about what they do. It's pretty amazing what they do, in fact. And of course, the whole month, this month of April, has been cannabis legalization month. We've had mostly guests on to discuss the medicinal benefits of cannabis and the legal efforts being made to make it legalized all throughout the country. Recently with Heather Fazio of the Marijuana Policy Project. Of course, we are still the crypto show. We're still into cryptocurrency, cryptography, crypto anarchy, and all the rest. And so we have a very special guest. I believe his first appearance on the show with us. I'm very, very honored to have him on. He's definitely one of the big wigs when it comes to crypto. He is none other than Brock Pierce. You probably know the man by name and probably needs no introduction, but I'll give one anyway. He is a very successful entrepreneur. He's a former child actor, was in actually several well-known movies back in the day. He is the director of the Bitcoin Foundation, and he is the founder and managing partner at Blockchain Capital. And we may even discuss with him some of the intersection between CannaScense and blockchain and Bitcoin that we're kind of in the works doing later on in the hour with him. But anyway, let's get right to it. Brock, are you there?
I am here. Glad to be here.
We're very glad to have you. Thank you very much for being on the Crypto Show.
Well, good to be here.
And you're coming in pretty clear. Good, because we were having a slight issue off air, but it sounds pretty loud and clear. Brock, there's a lot of things I want to talk to you about, but I guess the first thing to dive right into is the most au courant, if you will. Fancy little vocab word there.
Did you look that up before you got here?
I did, thank you. Okay. The recent, of course, you're, as I said, the founder and managing partner in Blockchain Capital. And for what I understand, y'all had a recently very successful ICO or initial coin offering. Is that right?
Yes, we did. That closed last Monday. Well, it opened last Monday and it closed last Monday, so I'd call that a successful ICO.
So you're saying within 24 hours you had reached and I imagine exceeded your goal?
Yeah, so we had set a goal of raising $10 million, and within probably 30 minutes of launching, we were already over $9 million. We were running, I think, into some technical difficulties just due to how many people were hitting the site at once. So I think the official number is that it closed in the first 6 hours.
Wow, that's amazing. And what's even more amazing, based on what you're saying, is that had there not been a technical glitch, it might have closed within the very first hour, right?
We'll never know, but that's definitely a possibility. And it was clear there was a lot more demand than we were able to fulfill. But I mean, this is kind of the difference between the DAO, where taking all the money you possibly can, versus, hey, this is an experiment. We're doing something no one's ever done before. Let's not try and go as big as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Let's test this, see how it works, and then do what we can. We can always do this again in the future.
Very prudent words. Absolutely, you don't want to go whole hog because you never know what can happen. Even the best minds running the best operation, whatever it is, including an ICO, mistakes can happen, and you don't want a repeat of the Ethereum DAO, and that will eternally be a lesson. Probably not even just in the crypto space. I can see future business graduates doing their theses or dissertations on that, for all we know. One last thing before we get a little further into the details of this. Was this a record-breaking ICO, or was anything of that prestige?
I mean, I'd say there were a lot of precedents established that, things that had never been done before. For one, we were the first ICO of a venture fund. So that's, I think, interesting. And, our long-term ambitions there are to democratize venture capital. The history of venture capital is that it's been historically the financial elite, the pensions, the endowments, the big, rich family offices that have had sort of exclusive access to the best venture funds and therefore the best deals. Crowdfunding and websites like AngelList and all the crowdfunding sites were the first major sort of leap or big step in the democratization of venture capital. I think that this is the next massive and much even larger leap in democratizing it in a way where hopefully anyone, in the world has the ability to participate, not, again, just the financial or even crypto elite. So that's one big precedent. Second is it's liquid. Because we're selling a digital interest in a venture fund, it will trade as a token. And so normally when you invest in a venture fund, your money is tied up for 5 or 10 years, delivering liquidity. So the venture capital and private equity and call it the fund model, venture capital has benefited greatly from the internet and from technology. And we allegedly invest in innovation and disruptive businesses. But how has the venture model changed in the last 50 years? It hasn't. So I think that this is probably the biggest thing that's happened to venture capital in 50 years. So I'd say that's maybe historic, certainly an interesting precedent. Some of the other things, we were the first ICO to acknowledge that we're a security. We utilize the Securities and Exchange Exemptions Regulation D and Regulation S. So that's pretty interesting. We were the first ICO to KYC all of our users because as a security, that's something that you have to do. Unfortunately, in the United States, we're allowed to accept accredited investors, but that's a requirement under the Regulation D exemptions. And so we've said, a lot of the ICOs. I was a founding board member of Mastercoin, which was the first ICO in the summer of 2013. So I've been deep in the ICO market, since call it the beginning. And I always had a lot of concerns about how this stuff could be regulated. And, everyone had gone through great lengths to try and sort of circumvent securities law by creating these convoluted token structures. In some cases, these protocol tokens work. In some cases, they've created structures that may allow them to pass the Howey test, but I think it created for an inferior product. I think in some instances, selling your users, an ownership, actual interest in the underlying things that you're building also makes sense. Each ICO and each idea needs to be approached, uniquely, and try to look at what other things, other people have done. But I think we did a bunch of things that had never been done before, and I'm very proud of that, and I'm proud of the fact that other people thought what we were doing was interesting and agreed with us.
Yeah, that's great. Congratulations. This really is groundbreaking, and we're very happy for you guys over there for all the, as you said, precedents that you've set. Well, one thing that you just touched upon that I'd like a little further clarification on is, I was doing some research for the show about your ICO. There was, from the journalists I was reading, who, of course, they're not going to know everything that's going on. There was some concern about the legalities going forward because of whether it was classified as a security or not. Now, you're saying the ICO is compliant with everything necessary to classify it as a security, KYC, and everything else. So there shouldn't be any really legal red tape going forward. Is that correct?
There's always lots of that, and when you're setting precedents, you've done everything as best you possibly can, and you hope you've done everything correctly. We believe we have. So a couple of things. One is it's a closed-end fund structure based out of Singapore, which is where the token is issued. Singapore, the MAS, the regulator there, created guidance in 2014 saying that virtual currencies and tokens are not securities. So in the country in which we issue the token, we're not a security. But understanding that the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission may disagree with our position, we've also complied with securities law utilizing the Regulation S and D exemptions. So in some ways, it's both. The token where it's issued is not legally considered a security, but we've complied with the law, assuming that regulators may perceive us to be so. So we did both, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes total sense, and that seems like a smart strategy. And you're right. When you establish precedent, you never know going forward just what may occur that you can't foresee, when you tread new ground like that. But so basically, worst case scenario, which doesn't sound like it would happen at all, is if the U.S. somehow came back and said, nope, we won't do it, it's a security and we can't establish it that way, you'll at least be able to do it out of Singapore.
Oh, no, in the U.S., we complied with securities law. So, we basically said we had to look at the entire world and say, how do you comply on a global basis, the U.S. being the most complicated of jurisdictions to comply.
Coming to break, sorry, Brock. We'll be right back in just a second in the Crypto Show with Brock Pierce.
Dang, Cookie.
Me love cookies.
Oh, hi, Cookie Muncher. No, these are.
Oh, okay,
yucky
so there's no
cookies.
question then about them like going back or finding some
These are cyber
issue with your
cookies.
compliance here in the U.S.
No, I don't believe so. I mean, our compliance issues that we have are going forward. So U.S. investors, under the Regulation D exemptions, we were limited to 99 accredited U.S. investors, and those U.S. investors have a 1-year lockup. And so those are the areas where we could,
And clear them.
if we didn't,
Now,
if our U.S. accredited investors started selling our tokens in the secondary market prior to a year lapsing, that would put us into, we could run into trouble.
I see. That makes sense. Let's repeat that when we get back on air here too in a second. We do record off air though for our Facebook Live video, but for our radio listeners too, we might as well throw that in there as well.
Are you being
Yeah,
harassed
happy to
by
repeat it.
debt collectors with phone calls, letters, or even lawsuits? Stop debt collectors now with the Michael Mears proven method.
And then after that, I'm going to ask you basically for our audience if you can explain the difference between crowdfunding and venture capital, some of the quick legal differences, and then you had mentioned how oftentimes with venture capital you have to hold for 10 years if you're an investor. I believe you said. I think I'd read that too. Just so.
Yeah, there's not a legal obligation, but yeah, I'm happy to explain the nuances of what all these things are.
Yeah, because I think it helps, because I don't think most people are privy to that stuff, and if anything, it'll get them knowledgeable enough to maybe be excited to invest in such things in the future. So.
On the blue Michael Mears banner, or email Michael Mears at yahoo.com.
That's ruleoflawradio.com or email michaelmirras@yahoo.com.
To learn how to stop debt collectors now.
You are listening to the Logos Radio Network. LogosRadioNetwork.com.
This is what happens when you call the cops. Say what? This is what happens when you call the cops.
All right, Rick, bring us back when you're ready.
You get your rights violated or you all get shot. This is what happens when you call the cops. This is what happens when you call the
Welcome back, everybody, to that intro song. You know it well, I'm sure. That's Rob Hustle. This is what happens when you call the cops, the sequel to Good Cops. Check out robhustle.com and his great work, including his latest music video for that song. We are here, of course, in this lovely April 19th, 2017 on TXLR, Logos Radio Network. Go to logosradionetwork.com and check out the fundraiser that's going on. They do one every year. There's always cool stuff. A lot of it has been donated by Central Texas Gunworks. We appreciate that from them. And it is what enables this network to keep going with all the wonderful programming besides the crypto show. So please, if you don't participate in the fundraiser directly, give what you can here and there. As you can to Logos Radio Network. And real quick, our sponsors, our partners rather, I'd like to thank Dash.org. Of course, we're doing more to spread crypto awareness and also do some philanthropic work thanks to Dash. There's also bitmainwarranty.com. Check out the latest in ASIC Bitcoin miners. They're also doing Litecoin miners now. I remember reading last show, if you recall, during the CryptoCompare.com news bite. And, of course, we thank CryptoCompare.com for the weekly wrap-up every Sunday in the crypto space. And Hill Country Home Improvements for all your roofing needs here in Central Texas. They accept and prefer Bitcoin and Dash. So let's get back to our very special guest, Brock Pierce, again, founder and managing partner at Blockchain Capital, who recently had an initial coin offering, or ICO. And, Brock, let's return to that again for our on-air listeners, just to clarify the legal status here and abroad with your compliance.
Yeah, so it's a closed-end fund structure based out of Singapore, where the MAS or the regulators have provided guidance in Singapore that a token or a virtual currency is not a security. But understanding the U.S. may perceive that differently, we complied with U.S. securities law, utilizing the exemptions, both Regulation D and S. Now, the specifics of the Regulation D in the U.S. are we're limited to 99 accredited investors. And those accredited investors have a 1-year lockup. So we still have ongoing compliance obligations to ensure that our U.S. accredited investors don't trade the token for the first year. And that is our responsibility. So, the compliance is different here. I mean, we're the first ICO to, issue a 75-page prospectus or offering memorandum. I mean, it's a little different than how things had been done previously. This is kind of going from white papers to a prospectus.
Yeah, it's a big leap. It's a lot of paperwork, and instead of, like you said, maybe a 3-page white paper that you'll find for some of these previous ICOs. And you said you're limited to 99 U.S. investors. Do you have foreign investors as well?
Yeah, so we had, I think, about 4,000 people prior to the crowd sale signing up, going through KYC for the U.S. people, completing their accreditation forms. And I believe in the ICO, we had about 1,000 investors.
Wow.
So over 90% of the investors are international. But that's because of this accredited requirement in the U.S. And I mean, I would have liked it to have been 30-70, something that's kind of probably representative of the global Bitcoin community. Or blockchain sort of, crypto community.
Right.
But unfortunately, being compliant with U.S. securities law is restrictive. But, I think that I enjoy being able to sleep at night.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's better than nothing. And you got to do what you got to do. If the regulators are going to make you do things, you got to comply. So, and real quick, I think it's important for people to know, you talked about democratizing venture capital and saying, in essence, that things like this are going to allow just about anybody to invest in venture capital funding. Explain what you mean by that, and I guess in so doing, explain also the difference between crowdfunding, which, as you explained, and as I know some of our listeners know from our previous guests, is a sort of initial step in this direction already. The difference between crowdfunding and venture capital, and how these things compare, if you would.
Yeah, so venture capital is this old model of funds being established to invest in early stage technology companies. They use a general partner and limited partner structure. So the venture capitalist is a general partner or GP. Then you have venture limited partners, which are big pensions or endowments, call it the financial elite, high net worth, sort of family offices that give these groups money, which then they invest. Typically, that money is locked up for 5 to 10 years. And if you wanted to participate in the economic benefits of, early stage technology, you needed to be a member of this sort of financial elite to participate. Crowdfunding, was the first big thing that began the democratization of the venture capital industry. And one of the, I think, great things that came out of the Obama administration's time in office was this thing known as the Jobs Act. And the idea was to change some of these old regulations to make investing in early stage technology more accessible to the average person. And that's where Regulation S and D came from, the exemptions that we utilized. We took advantage of the greatest token guidance in the world, combined with all of the innovation around crowdfunding laws, combined with blockchain and tokenization. We basically took all of these ideas and combined them into one. But so what crowdfunding is a combination of things. You've got websites like AngelList that allow, accredited investors to invest in startups. So this has really benefited the angels, where angels now have access to better deal flow that historically only the VCs had. So that's the first big sort of thing that AngelList is provided for, a wonderful website, angel.co. But that's only for accredited investors, but it's a great resource. I run one of the largest syndicates there. And so I've been a big, fan of crowdfunding, and I've been I believe that what the blockchain is doing is it's democratizing the global financial system and much, much more. But if you believe in the democratization of the global financial system, philosophically, as a VC, I should also believe in the democratization of venture capital. Because they're one and the same in many respects, this just being a niche versus the entire, apparatus of the world. And so I believe, to be true to oneself, to be real, you had to want to do this. And so you had other crowdfunding platforms that allow non-accredited investors, think Kickstarter, but where you get equity. You've got, in our space, Bank to the Future out of Europe. You've got our crowd out of Israel. And these platforms are allowing startups, like we do ICOs, to say, here's my business, or how you would fund a Kickstarter. Here's my idea. And invest in my company. So instead of having, 3 VCs in a deal, you might have 3,000 individuals or fans or your customers that are becoming investors. And so a lot of wonderful innovation there. that's kind of begun the democratization of venture. But when you combine tokenization with blockchain and guidance in Switzerland or Singapore with the Jobs Act, and you combine all of these things into one, you get something that I think truly does democratize venture capital, with the exception of the U.S. because of this accreditation requirement in terms of being a high net worth individual. But I mean, I think it's a huge, leap toward, everyone having equal access. You can be, an investor in Europe that wants to invest, $200 into the, a venture fund, and now you have the ability to do so. And rather than having your money tied up for 5 or 10 years, if you decide you want to get out, you can go sell it. I think that's, a great event that is going to allow more money to come into the early stage entrepreneurial ecosystem, which is going to be great for innovators and founders because there'll be more money accessible. And in a way that's positive, there's more money accessible because you're allowing more people to participate, but you're giving them the same quality of deals, hopefully, that the venture capital industry has had historically. So, I mean, I feel and again, VCs have been investing in innovation and disruption. We allegedly are supposed to do this, but we didn't innovate. So as an innovator, I'm an entrepreneur more than a venture capitalist. I've only been wearing the venture hat, for the last 5 years. As an entrepreneur, I've done a lot of things. So I can either sit around and wait for someone to come along and disrupt my business, or I can take, the vision that I have of the future and see how it's going to be disrupted and cannibalize my own business. I'm trying to put the venture capital industry out of business, including myself. And I think that's kind of fun.
I think so too. I love that philosophy. I hear that philosophy. I have heard that philosophy many times in the crypto space, where it's in principle, people like, say, Roger Ver want to put themselves out of business, quote unquote, to promote better markets and better outcomes for the community. And I absolutely agree. And, deep in liquid is what has characterized U.S. markets, capital markets, and made them one of the most invested in and best markets in the world. And that should be a typical also of things like venture capital. It's unfortunate that the regulatory structure here is such that historically that's not been the case. So kudos to you in pioneering this stuff. And I like the fact that I'm only 5 years behind Brock Pierce in venture capital. He's been in it 5 years. I've been in it 0. That means I'm only 5 years behind Brock Pierce, so that makes me feel good. Well, we're coming to break.
It may be another 10.
Probably. I'm also probably millions behind. But we're coming to break. We're talking with Brock Pierce, the director of the Bitcoin Foundation, entrepreneur, former actor, and founder and managing partner at Blockchain Capital. We're very excited about his ICO, not just for what it means for his group, but what it means for the broader economy and crypto and financial community. So we'll be right back.
Congratulations.
I'm going to turn I got the Facebook thing turned on. Hold off for a little bit on Bitmain. I'm waiting for some answers. Before I...
As far as our thing?
Yeah, just let me know. Still, we'll hold off on
way too much information.
Well, tell me later or elaborate later.
Just some of the stuff that they're mining. I want some answers out of them before we.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Public service announcement is brought to you by StartPage.com, the private search engine alternative to Google, Yahoo, and Bing.
I really don't believe all of everything that's being said, but still, I want some reassurance.
Well, I know we have been. I know behind on they've been behind on their end. I know.
Yeah.
No,
I'm not even. Nothing even to do with any of that. Just this whole ASICS boost thing and all that.
Well, just tell me later.
Yeah.
Beth Gibbons of PrivacyRights.org says consumers generally only need to hold on to their receipts to prove their warranty rights. She recommends tossing registration cards or only submitting essential information in case you might want to be alerted to recall for items like...
And Brock, you're with us for another 30 minutes?
Information
whatever you need.
Okay. Also, I don't know if you'd like, if you want to stay on with a little bit with Niel Schlosss, you're welcome to do that. We're talking about, I don't know if Danny had told you, getting crypto into the cannabis dispensaries in the states where it's legal. So we might get your opinion on that before the hour's up too.
we won't start that out, or you want to do it beforehand too. I'm not an expert, obviously, in the cannabis industry, but I know enough to have an opinion. And I think I see some of.
Right. So our guest in the next hour, what he does is, it's basically an online medical cannabis pharmacy, and they will ship to all 50 states using loopholes from Obamacare and the Compassionate Care Act. And they accept Bitcoin, and tomorrow, within 2 days, they'll be accepting Dash.
Opportunity to learn how to enforce.
I'd be very curious to understand those legal loopholes. That sounds.
It sounds too good to be true, admittedly. So
that would make, as a non-expert, that would make me very nervous if that were my business. But I'm sure he's done his research, and I'd be very curious to hear what it is.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to have him because he's directly from the company, whereas Jordan Page was simply a libertarian who was kind of promoting them.
Well, this guy is the same. I mean, he's a Ron Paul guy.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, he's as competent and smart as Jordan is. This guy's going to be more directly knowledgeable of the ins and outs of this.
The guys that run the company are all lawyers and accountants.
So hopefully it's the real deal. We'll see. But if you want to stick around at all for that, we'd love to have you do that too. So.
All right, we got music, gentlemen. You guys ready to go?
Rick, bring us back.
Okie dokie, here we go.
Welcome back, guys, to this live airing of the Crypto Show on April 19th, 2017. If that's not the date where you're at, then it's not live. You're listening to a recording. We are talking with our guest, Brock Pierce. And we were just talking about his group, Blockchain Capital, took me a second. Their recent ICO was very successful. Within 6 hours, they had reached their $10 million goal. What you doing over there, Danny? And we've got a bunch to talk to him about for the next couple segments to our next guest, and it's possible Brock may stick around with us for a segment or two with our next guest, so we'll see. One other thing I wanted to ask you about, Brock, of course, your ICO is built off of Ethereum, right? Your tokens?
Yeah, it's an ERC20 token.
Well, sort of unrelated, but not exactly. Are you familiar with this recent Enterprise Ethereum Alliance? I'm not too familiar with it other than the brief excerpt in an article I read recently. But basically this consortium of, I want to say like 36 companies, Fortune 500 tech and financial companies getting together to, I guess, promote use and development of Ethereum for various, technologic and practical purposes. How familiar are you with this organization, and what are your thoughts on it?
I'm fairly familiar. I'm pretty, active within the Ethereum ecosystem. It's a private blockchain built around built using Ethereum for enterprises, and a lot of the call it key contributors or market participants in the Ethereum ecosystem are supporting it. And I think a lot of, call it Fortune 5,000 type organizations, are interested in playing with it. We'll see. It's relatively new. We'll see what comes of it, and I imagine it won't take too long to see that.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked when I saw it. We were at an Acapulco back in March, or was that February? February, when I saw the headline. And I guess another question real quick on the topic is there any concern for them or for any of us still from the hard lesson learned, or maybe not learned, with the DAO exploit concerning Ethereum? How big of a deal was that in this context? Is it still a concern going forward? Have people jumped on the Ethereum ship a little too soon yet before things have been properly developed or vetted with Ethereum and the whole macrocosm of smart contracts, or what do you think?
I think it was a huge deal, because of how big it got. I think if 10 million had been raised and the same thing had happened, there wouldn't have been a fork of the Ethereum ecosystem into Ethereum Classic and ETH. So, I mean, I think that was created a huge rift and a bunch of problems for the Ethereum ecosystem. Obviously, the price has rebounded, and confidence in the ecosystem has obviously picked up in spite of that. But I think it was a huge deal. I don't think it was such a problem for Ethereum itself, other than how you ended up with this forking. But it was more, I think, the lesson to be learned here is make sure you get a really good security audit. Make sure you do dot your I's and cross your T's. I think that the DAO team or the Slockit team were I think very reckless and irresponsible. And focused on just getting their product to market and raising as much money as they can versus making sure that they did it thoughtfully. And so I think it was a big deal, a lot to be learned there. Do your security audits, get your stuff done. This is, important stuff, and make sure you do it right. Then the other big question is, code is law, and, that was a big part of what the debate is. My view is, in the future, this is still, largely an industry of prototypes and experiments. And I think that we need to be a little bit more kind of open-minded today. We're not ready for prime time, though. That's where we're heading. And so I had no problem with the Ethereum fork. I think it was the right thing to do to get all of the Ethereum users their money back, with only one party being negatively impacted, which was the person that had gotten the coins through an exploitation of the smart contract. And I think the entire crypto community benefited from that. The alternative would have been a bunch of American accredited investors losing a bunch of money out the gate. Regulators would have been subpoenaing everybody. We would have had, as an industry, hell to pay. So I don't like the fact that happened. I don't like the fact that this fork occurred. But under the circumstances, considering the options, I think it was the right thing to do. And this was, the Slockit team failed to do, the security audits and get their job done correctly. And they're smart enough; they should know better.
Yeah, they should have known better. I agree with you. That's an excellent point I hadn't heard before that you brought up, which, is something to reconsider. If you're on the side of, well, they should have remained immutable and not done the fork, is the regulatory response. You're right. I mean, had all those investors taken that loss, had they not forked, the regulatory response could have been awful and way worse than what did happen. So that's something that people should consider when they consider that whole ordeal. Well, let's move on to kind of a similar topic, the Bitcoin fork or possibility thereof. What's your whole take on this debate between Bitcoin Unlimited and segregated witness? Do you fall on one side or the other? And do you think that if this gets unresolved, this could be bad for Bitcoin? I mean, I think everyone understands that eventually. Could it be bad for Bitcoin if it goes unresolved sooner rather than later? And then is either solution kind of better than nothing, or is one solution really bad? Or what's your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, I think it's bad for Bitcoin in some ways, but Bitcoin's trading at $1,200, so it's clearly only been so bad. The market still, responded positively. But I think, the main issue is these systems are open source by nature, and you've got now, billions or tens of billions of dollars of value residing within, the Bitcoin and Ethereum sort of currencies or tokens. Now, when you have that kind of value in an open source system, it does not surprise me that there would be really heated debates as to what is the right path forward. There's not any issue in my mind is can we scale Bitcoin from where it is today? There's no doubt in my mind the answer is yes, of course we can. The question is how and when, and that's the debate. And one of the problems with open source software is that all of those debates are public. And the reality is, when you see how the sausage is made, you realize it's not very pretty. The end result might be great, but, this is, everybody sees how the sausage is made, and it's, it's a heated debate and people calling each other names, and it's not been a pleasant thing to participate in. But I don't think we're going to see a resolution to this anytime soon. I think what's clear at this point is that achieving the level of consensus required for either of these things to go forward is looking highly unlikely in the near term. So I think that, Bitcoin is clearly still working. It's just not working as well as we would like it to, but it's still working. And, these debates, I think, will continue. And at some point, consensus will be reached. In some ways, I'm happy to see multiple implementations or ideas, being worked on. I think that that's good for Bitcoin. I think, as an ecosystem, we as the participants having options, is a good thing. And I'm glad to see smart people working on multiple implementations. Just to weigh in on things from a specific perspective, I think segregated witnesses, it looks like good code. I'm a fan of the core developers, generally speaking, not referring to Blockstream, but anyone that's contributing to core. One of the problems they have, and I've communicated this to those that I speak to, in all cases, is they're not very good at communication, and I think that that's part of the problem. I think that segregated witness would have been implemented very, very quickly if the core developer community did a better job of, if they brought someone on that headed up communications. So because I don't know if they're incapable of communicating effectively or just unwilling or a combination of the two. But therein lies the problem. I think the issue, though, is not really scaling. Scaling is the symptom. I think the actual problem is governance and how we, as a community, make these decisions. And, the real problem is that, governance appears to be broken in some ways. And that's the real issue and how that gets resolved. The scaling is just a symptom of, governance struggles.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. That is essentially what other experts like you have said on the show before. So no doubt it is a governance issue. And I will say you're right. I think in part it is that segregated witness hasn't had good communicators. And I don't mean that as a criticism exactly. And I think one of the reasons why is that Bitcoin Unlimited solution is relatively straightforward, a fork increasing the block size. Whereas segregated witness, we had Eric Lombroso from the core team on. I think I maybe understood half of what he said just because it was so technical, although he's a great communicator. And I think because their solution is so much more complex, it's hard for people to grasp and to get on board with. We'll be right back with Brock Pierce. Stay tuned, guys.
Plaintiff or defendant in a lawsuit? Win your case without an attorney with Jurisdictionary. The affordable.
Did you say that's true, Danny? What? Just because segregated witness in a way is like so much harder to understand, really? I mean, not in some sense. Like if
for
you get
us,
deep
yeah.
into, well, for us,
For us,
But I mean, even
definitely.
for the average, crypto user.
Thousands have won with our step-by-step.
No, I think that you're absolutely right. One is a simple solution in the minds of everybody they can understand and wrap their heads around. I think that part of the problem that SegWit has is most people don't understand how it works, and the core community hasn't done a great job of communicating with people. And again, I don't want to say I'm a fan of the core community. I am incredibly grateful to their contributions. Without them, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
That's a good point. And we've had several of them on.
I know there's a lot of heated debate and a lot of things. I'm all about an open platform of innovation where everyone can put forward their ideas and work on whatever they want. But and I'm glad to see other implementations and ideas being worked on. But not for 1 second am I saying that I'm not a fan or grateful for all of the contributions that the core team has developed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And same here. When I say that about the communication, it's
They should fire the Swiss cook from the Muppets as their spokesperson because I cannot understand.
Well, no, but that's the issue. I mean, I've been, and by the way, Eric Lombroso, I think very highly of. I like him very much. He's a good communicator, and again, an incredible contributor to this ecosystem, for which I am grateful.
Oh yeah, brilliant guy. I mean, you just hear him explain stuff, and like, it's as if he's reading from like a complicated technical text because he literally doesn't make a mistake when he's explaining anything. Like he's one of those people who like, just can do it without skipping a beat. It was pretty. Yeah, they got a great team over there, no doubt. So,
Bong hits, a little bit of pot. I'm watching my popcorn over here.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah. Hold on, I'm watching my popcorn right now. Hold on.
Yeah, I was watching my turtles go to a duel.
All right, bring it. Welcome back, guys. We've got at least another segment with Brock Pierce, and in the next segment, we're going to have Niel Schlosss from CannaScense. Is it .org or .com?
.com.
.com. I knew that. So we were just talking about the block size debate, segregated witness versus Bitcoin Unlimited. And as Brock said, I think one of the issues has been communication. There's the Bitcoin core team, of course, without whom we would not have Bitcoin, has, as brilliant as those guys are, as good communicators in general as those guys are, I think there's still been a deficit when it comes to really conveying what segregated witness is and why it's so important and why it may, I'll just say may so I can stay neutral, be the better solution to the problem versus Bitcoin Unlimited. And real quick, too, why do you think there has been such a vote of confidence vis-a-vis the share price, given all that's been happening?
Well, I mean, you've got multiple, there's so many things that contribute to the price. You can never say the price is up. Well, I make this joke occasionally. Someone says, hey, why do you think the Bitcoin price is up? And I say, I can tell you with 100% certainty. They're like, really? You know for that? I'm like, yeah, I can tell you for absolute certainty why the price is up. I can also tell you every time why it goes down. They're like, what really? I go, because there were more buyers than sellers. So now it obviously gets much more complex from there. And there's never one thing. There's many things that are, pushing the market in, different directions. Obviously, the scalability stuff has been putting downward pressure, on the price, in my opinion. But there are lots of other things that have been, supporting the increase in price. And I mean, the basics are Bitcoin adoption is continuing to increase around the world. You've got, all this venture capital that has been flowing into the ecosystem to build out the infrastructure, the bridges, the roads, the tunnels, the on-ramps, the off-ramps. I mean, we've got, in terms of the U.S. today, Bitcoin is at usage numbers on par with the internet in 1990. I think the infrastructure is where the internet was in 1994. And so I think this is kind of the breakout year where, everything's finally ready. To scale, being I think 2013 was a false start. I feel like 2017 is kind of the first big year where, digital currencies, begin to go mainstream. So I couldn't be more excited. Obviously we still got lots of challenges ahead. There's clearly going to be more hacking, more exchange problems. I mean, we're this is not going to be smooth sailing. Plenty of problems ahead. It's going to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But I couldn't be more excited about, the road ahead.
Well, that's very encouraging coming from you because as much as we love Bitcoin here, sometimes we have our doubts just about the long-term viability with everything that goes on. But, there is no easy road in life for anything. So very well said. Another quick...
I don't have a doubt about Bitcoin. I just have a doubt about it being used for coffee.
Well, that's true, too. Well, and speaking of which, micropayments, of course, even once they fix the block size issue, micropayments are still an issue. Well, what do you think of other cryptocurrencies, either as a supplement to Bitcoin, for instance, quick micropayments, or just in general as either a potential replacement for Bitcoin if Bitcoin were to ever go defunct, or as a secondary currency? Do you see any viability for any other cryptocurrencies?
Oh yes, absolutely. I believe in a multi-chain world. I believe that as a developer, if you're building a business today, you should do it in a chain agnostic fashion. We don't know what the future holds. I mean, Bitcoin looks amazing. I mean, I'm chairman of the Bitcoin Foundation, been involved a long time, major investor in the ecosystem, but I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist. I try to approach every situation, being as unbiased as I can and as open-minded as possible about the prospects of the future. I say this, I'm not sure if Bitcoin is the Friendster, the MySpace, the Facebook, the Instagram, the Snapchat, the Kick. I don't know. Right now, it looks like the winner. It's got network effects. It's not vulnerable to a lot of the same things that caused those prior, sort of social networks to fail. But anyone that tells you they know the future is probably someone you should stop listening to. And so, I don't know. You got proof of work and proof of stake, and I see some interesting, futures around proof of stake, and I don't believe it's going to be, one chain wins everything. I believe, there's a role in the world for these private blockchains that most of us dismiss, in the same way that there's still a role for intranets, big organizations in the, call it, the big companies, the Fortune 5,000 in the, early days of the internet. Those companies were afraid of using the public internet, and they used intranets. and private networks are very similar, and that there's still a role for intranets in the world today.
I was going to say they're making a comeback, actually.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that there's roles for all of these things, and it's not until we have the benefit of hindsight. I make bets, and I have views that this looks likely, this is possible, that looks most likely, and my positions change, frequently. Whatever I say today, I might disagree with myself tomorrow because I've got new data that's probably, encouraging me to think differently. But I think Bitcoin obviously is very interesting. Ethereum is earlier in its life cycle, but also very interesting. I mean, huge developer support, lots of activity, in the whole sort of smart contract application side of what this technology can do. And I think that there's still other interesting, macro, operating system level blockchains to come. And then after that, I think you got all sorts of other interesting stuff. I mean, I think that you're going to see community currencies. I think that you're going to see, like we have loyalty points, they're going to run on blockchains. I mean, clearly the securities, I think, of the future will be running on blockchains. I think the blockchain is going to have a bigger impact on the world than the internet has, and clearly that's going to be a multi-chain world that's going to provide for it, because each of these chains are designed to perform different functions, and in some ways better than others. I don't think it's going to be one chain fits all.
Great answer. We've got about 5 minutes left till the end of the segment. Brock, do you think you want to stay with us for another segment or two when we have Niel on, or are you going to have to go?
I'll try and stick around a few minutes. My problem is my battery on my laptop's getting low, and I don't have.
Gotcha.
But, I'll stick around a few minutes, and always. I love these types of conversations. I enjoy. I never get tired of talking about Bitcoin, blockchain, and Ethereum, and all the interesting world to come. We live in such an amazing time. You have so many incredible technologies growing exponentially that are all converging simultaneously. The world, ahead we live in exciting times, scary at the same time, but really exciting times. And, I'm enjoying every minute.
Yeah, like that Chinese proverb, maybe you live in interesting times, which can go both ways, I guess. There's so much I still want to ask you, but I guess since we only have a limited amount of time, I want to switch gears and get to what we're going to talk to Niel about, just to get your opinion. What is your opinion on, I like that you say you're not a Bitcoin maximalist. I'm not either. I mean, I love Bitcoin, of course, but like you said, there's room for other crypto and blockchains, et cetera. And one of the areas that we're kind of helping to push, literally ourselves here at the show with some things that we're doing, is getting crypto into cannabis dispensaries in states where it's legal.
After this show tonight, I'm driving to Denver to meet up with dispensaries and try to get them to accept Bitcoin and Dash. And
literally,
yes,
right after the show,
after the show, I'm leaving.
Hands-on in real time, and so it's getting exciting. And I hope to go with Danny on some of his future trips to do this. But what do you think about that? Because there's been so much talk about the unbanked. And how Bitcoin might help the unbanked. Well, the dispensaries are unbanked thanks to the drug laws and money laundering laws. So, what's your opinion on using crypto for that?
I think it's a great application for it. And I pitched a lot of people in the cannabis industry going back 3-4 years on how they should be considering using crypto. Back then the response was, we're not interested. And most of the Bitcoin industry wasn't interested in working with them. And I think it's because the crypto industry also felt like we're already kind of under a microscope by regulators. The cannabis people are like, we're already under a microscope by regulators. Both of us have mixed reputations, so let's not, I don't want to be any more affiliated with you, and you probably don't want to be any more affiliated with me, even though we have a lot in common. Fast forward 2, 3, 4 years, obviously things have changed now, and I think that the opportunity for the industries to work together, I think that's starting to happen now, and I think that there's a great fit. I think there always was, which is why I was, pitching it for the reasons you've just said. When you're unbanked, whether it be because you are, a laborer in a field sending money back home to family abroad, or a construction worker or something of that nature, and you're unbanked for those reasons, is just one of the reasons why you might not be getting access to the financial system. And this represents an interesting alternative. The marijuana or cannabis industry for a whole different host of reasons. The only recommendation I would make to anyone playing around in this space, if you're a crypto person looking to do something here, or you're a cannabis person looking to do something here, make sure you understand the laws and make sure that when you find a solution to these problems, of which I believe there are a few that exist. Make sure that you dot your I's and cross your T's. These are industries where, you don't necessarily just do things first and ask for forgiveness later. The consequences can be severe. I know in fashion today, orange is the new black, not my color. And so just as words of advice, talk to a lawyer before you do anything in either of these areas, because I don't want to be responsible for anyone getting into trouble that could have been avoided. And if you're going to do things that, if you don't take the advice that you're given, at least you are aware of the risks you're taking. In life, I think one of the most important things is if you're going to take risk, make sure it's quantified risk.
Yeah,
understand the risk that you're taking. I take risk for a living. I that's what we do as venture capitalists. We invest in businesses where we generally lose all of our money, but we're making these are quantified risks. I understand the risks that I'm taking when I take them. So as we move into this segment, for the entrepreneurs and the participants out there, just this is a great place to play. I'm confident there's huge synergies here for both industries to benefit from each other. Just do it thoughtfully.
Absolutely well said. To quote, I think it's Emerson, the unexamined risk is not worth taking. So I think that's a key point to make to people. Make sure you do your homework and know what you're getting into. We have 45 seconds till break. If you can, stick with us a few more minutes while we talk to Niel Schlosss. He is the Schloss. Keep saying that. He is the Chief Financial Officer over at CannaScense.com. We're interested to talk to him more directly about what they do and just how it does seem a little too good to be true, but apparently not. But we'll find out more about that. And we're talking with Brock Pierce. It's been a great conversation. There's so much more we could talk to him about on just blockchain and Bitcoin alone, but we'll have him join the conversation with concerning cannabis here for just a few more minutes, and we appreciate a little bit of his extra time. So stay tuned to hear more here on the Crypto Show. We'll be right back, guys.
The most popular book in the world.
Yeah, Brock, you'll be able to catch his explanation on the legal issues of this. So.
I'm genuinely very curious.
Yeah.
If he didn't have a reputation as someone that knows what he's doing, I'd be very nervous for someone attempting to do that. Both crossing state lines typically makes things federal. That combined with some of those states not even having approved medicinal, let alone recreational, and all of the nuances that exist in licensing. I'm a novice, but clearly, I'm really curious to see, how, those nuances or loopholes work.
Yeah. He says they've already delivered to 36 states.
Wow,
it's one thing to be doing it, because when you do something that will get you into trouble, it takes a while before you get they come grab you.
Yeah.
You don't know until after you've been doing it for a little while.
Yeah.
But I'm really curious to understand, how they've structured this to get comfortable that you're not going to end up in orange.
Yeah. Hey, Rick, can you go ahead and bring Niel on?
Silver, $18.51 an ounce.
Rick.
Texas crude, $53.18.
Yeah, we calling up Niel Schlosss.
Yeah.
Schlosss.
75 U.S. currency.
And so I'll stick around like the first 5 minutes, and then I'll just drop off. So you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Theater by John Wilkes Booth. Lincoln later died the next day after being shot.
Hey, Niel, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Excellent. You sounding good.
Yeah.
We're on break right now. Everyone's on the line. We'll be on the air shortly.
Okay, fantastic.
Hey, Niel, it's Danny here.
Hey, Danny.
And
Arsenal.
We've got Brock Pierce is still on the line, and we'll just let him kind of hear what you're doing, and maybe he'll be interested in it. We'll see.
Okay.
Niel, pleasure to connect. I'm really fascinated by what it is that you're doing here. I'm eager to learn. Thank you for your time.
Oh, you're welcome. I heard a lot of good things about you, Brock.
Agency denied that any ISIS fighters were killed or injured.
Do you know Nick Spanos, Brock, or no?
Of course, for quite a few years now.
Okay.
This was the right weapon against.
I hung out with Nick for an hour and a half in his car to teach me Bitcoin.
He's been a wonderful advocate of the Bitcoin ecosystem and has educated a lot of wonderful people. we're all grateful to the work that he's done.
Yeah.
I
met him during the Ron Paul campaign.
I'm surprised he didn't tell you about the voting he was doing with Florin Coin during the Libertarian Convention.
Mainly conceived as a weapon employed for psychological.
Yeah, that's what he was using. He's doing blockchain voting for the Libertarian Convention. I don't know if he did it in the other states, but he did it here in Texas.
Wait, who was this?
Nick Spanos.
Stated that its agents can offer up to $2,000, up from a previous maximum of $800, and supervisors can offer up to $9,950, up from $1,350, to customers willing to give up their seats, with other airlines examining their policies as well, and American Airlines updating its data.
We got 28 seconds, 25 seconds.
All this in response to a viral video where airport officers violently yanked and dragged David Dow from his seat on a sold-out United Express flight, a choice which cost United upwards of $250 million. No wonder airlines $10,000 to avoid such a scenario. This was Rick Brody with your lowdown for April 14th, 2017.
Can't be trusted. Can't be trusted. Can't be trusted. I don't trust no one.
All right, Rick, bring us back when you're ready.
Can't trust it.
Welcome back, guys, to the Crypto Show. Don't forget our partners, Hill Country Home Improvements, CryptoCompare.com, .org, Logos Radio Network.com, and, of course, Defense Distributed. And we were just talking with our guest, Brock Pierce, who is able to remain with us for a few more minutes, so we appreciate that. There's so much more we could have talked to him directly about blockchain and Bitcoin, but hopefully that means we can just have him back in the near future to talk more. In the meantime, we're going to have him join us with our next guest, and we're going to switch gears a little bit from Bitcoin and blockchain, but not really, actually, because that's also what we're talking about. It's the intersection of that with cannabis and the cannabis industry. We have on Niel Schlosss. Is that how you pronounce it?
That's correct.
Okay, finally got it. Niel Schlosss, the CFO of CannaScense, and we had on their sort of I don't want to say spokesperson, maybe.
Public relations.
Public relations. Thank you. That's a much better term. Jordan Page, of course, he's also a wonderful performer and libertarian and previous guest of the show. We had him on not too long ago to discuss CannaScense, but now we have someone more directly on. And Neil, real quick, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in CannaScense, and tell me how you became a trained magician, too, by the way.
Well, it all is in my career. I'm a CPA, which is a certified public accountant. And being a CPA, you have clients walk in and out of your doors with different ideas for every industry. And I've been lucky enough to be a person that I have entertainers I work with. I have technologists, doctors, lawyers. And one day in around 2005, I think it was, a gentleman walked into my office and introduced me to a concept called marijuana. So, and to me, marijuana was, what is that? And he said to me, it's not marijuana, it's cannabis. So that's where it led me into learning the legal side of the industry for many years leading up to the launch of CannaScense, the website. So that's how I got started.
Pretty neat. Marijuana, I like that. Pretty interesting stuff. And how long have you been with CannaScense now?
From the beginning. Marijuana was the first idea that started with Good Earth Enterprises, which was a gentleman by the name of Louis Santiago, who for many years was involved in the cannabis industry and kind of was a teacher to me. And he walked me through the Compassionate Use Act. And, of course, for me, it was technology and the intersection of this industry that I knew that one day we can bring it to the forefront and make it so easy for anyone around the country to just go through the legal process and be in compliance with the acts that are being imposed. So about 2 years ago, actually April 16th was the day that I got my recommendation done virtually. So when I did that, I realized that I can write the program to help others do the same step. Go see a doctor, get the recommendation, of course, join a collective so that the collective can provide medicine to them legally and lawfully.
You were 4 days early on the 16th there. I like that.
Yes.
Well, there's a lot we want to talk about, but let's dive in real quick into the legality of this, because Brock is here with us only for a limited time, and I want him to. We're all curious, but he's curious to know too, since we were telling him about it, just how CannaScense is able to work. Now, again, just to sum up, you guys are able to deliver to virtually any state, is that right, using these sort of loopholes, if you will?
Well, we provide medicine to any patient that's valid under the Compassionate Use Act. So if they live in a state but they are compliant to the Compassionate Use Act of 1996, we can provide the medicine to them using normal means of delivery. U.S. Post Service, FedEx, UPS, because again, our company is licensed to do that.
And how does one be in compliance with the Compassionate Use Act?
So the Compassionate Use Act of 1996, of course, has a list of ailments, which of course you can find on our website under the Education tab, where you can see what can cannabis treat, and look at every ailment that falls under the Compassionate Use Act. So if you have one of those ailments, you start the process to go see the doctor. Of course, you can see a doctor in person if you're in California, but you can also do it virtually through our portal, where we bring you right to the doctor, help you get the appointment set up, and then you have that private meeting with the doctor, where the doctor recommends you.
And this was a side effect of Obamacare, correct?
Correct. It was one where I knew technology was going to get to. I mean, I grew up in the era of the Jetsons, so to me it's talking through a TV to actually whoever was something I knew was going to come to a reality. And Obamacare, of course, introduced the telemedicine approach. So with that, of course, it became a reality. Like, you can see your doctors. We could even have this radio show where we can virtually see each other. I mean, I'm in New Jersey, and you guys are in Texas. So that ability was there, and of course, the Affordable Health Care Act added that to be something that an individual can do with their doctor.
And so just to obviously clarify, I mean, you've explained it well, but to clarify, essentially, if you're in California, you see a doctor in person. If you're not in California, you can video conference with a California doctor from wherever you are in the rest of the country to get a recommendation from that doctor, right?
Yeah, you can do it virtually if you're in California also. So if you get out of the airport, you can set up your doctor's appointment, see the doctor, and head right to the dispensaries and get your medicine. So that feature is there. And it's actually going nationwide, where other states are going to introduce that telemedicine with the doctors of those states as well.
Now, you know, one thing that when we talked to Jordan Page that came up, and one thing that Brock sort of immediately intuited in our last segment when we briefly discussed this is, what about the Interstate Commerce Clause, and what about interstate traffic and mailing? Despite the Compassionate Use Act and the Obamacare video conferencing, how is that not an issue here?
All right, so if you go to the Constitution, and it's Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3, that is what the Commerce Clause is written, talks about it's there to regulate commerce between foreign nations, among states, and Indian tribes. So again, if you walk back in history, our country was created in the form of freedom, and regulate, that term back in the day defined, was to make it regular, make it normal, make it not that it was the government controlled us. It was the idea that regular commerce should happen without interference of government.
Like everyone should be on the same page, basically.
Well, it's just that it's normal, like for me to do commerce with you or to actually have interaction with you. And when I cross over a state line, being we're a united country, there's no border patrol and there's no stopping of how we interact. And if government was to institute that, then to me, as a CPA, government's violating the Constitution. And it's not the individuals that are violating the Constitution.
And also, so how many states have you currently delivered to, and what safeguards are there for people in case they run into legal problems? Like, as far as your foundation, how does that work?
Sure. So far we have patients in 39 states. It's 38. No, actually, I meant to check today. I think it's 39. I think Idaho came on today. But we can do to all 50. And as far as safeguards go, our company is an FOB destination company, which under UCC law, FOB destination is that the product being shipped, if lost in transit, gets replaced by our collective. It's not the patient's loss, it's the company has that as our policy. And then as far as the legal side of the individual, I mean, of course, if the individual is a recommended patient, saw the doctor, gave us their recommendation, they are going to be in compliance with the Act, which falls to the Article 4, Section 1 of the Constitution, which talks about the any act that's written by one state is the full faith and credit should be given to that in the other states, which I know Jordan had talked about.
Okay.
The full faith and credit clause.
Well, and that alone seems to be a strong support for what you're doing is the full faith and credit clause. If one state does it, then it should be recognized by other states. Like I think they do that with marriage laws and things like that. But getting back just real quick to the Commerce Clause, if I may. Now, everything you said is true, but at the same time, I know that historically that it's not always been the case that Congress or the courts or the executive or the feds in general have respected the original intent of the Commerce Clause. And, you know, there's the famous case of the chicken farmer who refused to sell his chickens, and because he decided to keep his property and not sell it, the court determined that this was affecting interstate commerce because technically it affected supply and demand, and therefore interstate commerce. And then they found him guilty, basically, of not selling chickens. Is there any prospect for as a result the Commerce Clause to be turned on its head and used against CannaScense in what you're doing, or am I totally off base, or can you explain?
I mean, lawyers like to argue. I'm a CPA. Lawyers will always like to argue in that sense. So anytime there's controversial discussion, I mean, it can happen. From my side as a CPA, I mean, what we're doing, I think, is the best thing for this country, or best thing for any individual that's sick. I unfortunately lost my mom to breast cancer back in 2002. And listen, when it happened, of course, I was young, and I always was like, there's got to be an answer to something, or anything that's happening, there's an answer out there. And I stumbled upon the cannabis oil concept. Like I said, Lou came into my office and brought the idea of marijuana and the concept of this is a way for people to get healthy. I, of course, learned about the endocannabinoid system. I learned about the benefits of CBD versus THC, and all science stuff to me, which was, I love learning because I'm a math and science guy. So, I mean, can it be turned on its head? I mean, if someone did it, at this point, I think they're a little crazy at this point. They haven't realized that we're not doing this to break the law. We're not trying to do this to hurt someone. We're doing this because it's exactly what's needed. I mean, hearing stories of people that leave their state to go to another state to get the medicine that's needed for their family. I mean, to me, that's absolutely nuts when this concept of see a doctor, get a recommendation, go into our apothecary, pick out the medicine, and the medicine is sent to you. so that you can work on your health and improve your health is right. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Absolutely. I don't either. I was just asking for theoretical reasons. But we're coming to break. We're talking with Niel Schlosss, CFO at CannaScense, and Brock Pierce, if he's still with us. And I want to see on the other side if Brock is still with us, if he has any questions himself. We'll be right back.
Are you being harassed by debt collectors with phone calls, letters,
Brock, you
or
still with us?
offers? Stop debt collectors now with the Michael Mears
Brock,
proven
did he drop?
method.
Yeah,
Mike
he
Mears
dropped.
has
I thought, was that what that
He
noise
dropped?
was?
court against debt collectors, and now you can win too. You get
How's it going, guys?
instructions in plain English on how
What's
to
that?
win in court using federal
Rick, how's it going?
rights statutes. What to do when
Oh, good.
contacted
Well, it's
by
going great.
phone, mail, or court
Good.
summons. How to answer
Did you want to go on
letters,
to
phone calls,
another topic, or what do you want to aim to discuss?
how to turn the financial tables
I might have one more question on this topic. We'll go on from there.
The Michael Mears proven
Okay,
method
cool.
is the solution.
And you're out in Texas?
Yeah, we're in Austin, Texas.
Consultation is
Nice.
available as well. For more information,
Nice.
please visit Rule of
Yeah,
Law
we're-
Radio.
Hey, you guys don't want me to call Brock back, do you?
Oh, no. He said he was dropping off.
Yeah, his
Yeah, I
computer.
figured. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just sticking around to listen to the idea.
To learn how to stop debt collectors now.
I love logos. Without the shows on this network, I'd be almost as ignorant as my friends.
Well,
So
let's see
they-
what happens. I'm sitting on a bunch of pot
I
coin.
my toothpick.
Not a bunch, but
And I really
I'm sitting
want
a
to
little
help
bit.
keep this network on the air. I'd love to
Waiting on
volunteer.
it. You know,
to
it always every year it spikes up for 420. Everybody, yeah, it pumps and dumps for 420.
Well, I'm glad to ask. Whenever you order anything from Amazon, you can help logos. When ordering your supplies or holiday gifts, first thing you do is clear your cookies. Now, go to logosradionetwork.com. Click on the Amazon logo and bookmark.
Yeah, probably also like when I've been on the CannaScense website, I just kind of don't really get how the structure works as far as these packages. Like what I'm paying for 20, what am I getting? This type of thing.
Sure.
It's not real. To me, it's not real clear. I'm kind of like, well, what does this? It's not real clear whether I'm getting the doctor's visit along with all of the items that are coming to me, or what. And and do I have to wait until I'm prescribed before I can choose a certain package, or?
Did you want to discuss that on the air, or you?
Yeah.
Okay,
After his other questions, we'll get into that.
Yeah, bring that up. Once
Okay.
Fantastic. All right, Rick. Bring us back when you're ready. All right, guys. Welcome back to the Crypto Show. Brock Pierce dropped off as he said he likely would. His computer only had so much juice left.
What show are we on? I'm in the wrong show. I'm out of here.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's in Suite E. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I was here
There
for
you go.
Captain Kangaroo.
I know who that guy was. Weirdo. We always get these vagrants come in every now and again. No, we are talking. We want to thank Brock Pierce though for a pretty awesome interview. It was pretty exciting to have him on the show and talk to him about all the stuff we did. And maybe next time we'll be able to talk some more cannabis with him and how cannabis and blockchain can work together. And we'll talk a little bit about that with blockchain or cryptocurrency with Niel here coming up. But I guess, Niel, though, I mean, you've done a good job of explaining it, but I guess if you can, take us through the full legal step of why CannaScense works. Just remind us what part of the Constitution, again, what part of the Affordable Care Act, and then it was also the Compassionate Use Act, right? And those are the three main pillars for the legality of it. Is that right?
Yeah, those are the three main things that we start with. Of course, the Compassionate Use Act of 96, that's 1996. That's when the act was written. It described who can see the doctor, which, of course, is anyone. And then, of course, if they see the doctor, get the recommendation, they can volunteer themselves to register at the state level, but it's a voluntary option. It's not you were required to. And then after the Compassionate Use Act, you have the Affordable Health Care Act, created telemedicine so that it allowed people from anywhere to see a doctor. And then, of course, the Constitution, which is the full faith and credit clause, under Article 4, Section 1. And then, of course, you can get into the Article 1, Section 8, the roles of government. The Commerce Clause that you have brought up, which is Clause 3, or Section 3, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3. And then there's Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, which is, to me, federal jurisdiction, which is very limited if you read that clause. So there's a lot that it's like a big puzzle. And I'm a CPA who likes to take on puzzles and figure it out and kind of help others defend themselves or teach them so that they can defend themselves. And it's funny, I'm also a wrestling coach, so I love teaching defense. So,
well, you had the perfect experience and inclinations then. And real quick, and I want to say too, especially with regard to the previous part of our conversation before the break, I'm simply playing devil's advocate, or not even just that, just trying to explore the legal ramifications here. I absolutely agree with you. It should be legal. It should be accessible to people. It shouldn't be a Schedule I drug. Even the federal government knows it shouldn't be a Schedule I drug because the federal government itself has studies proving medicinal value. So the whole war on drugs is ridiculous. And it's very sad, all the people. My own grandmother had breast cancer, too, that she passed away from a few years ago. And there's so many people that we all know, sadly, not just stories you hear out there in the ether, as it were, but direct acquaintances and family members and friends who can benefit health-wise from cannabis and who aren't able to, but with the help of CannaScense.com, now they can. So two more quick questions before we get to what Danny was going to ask. The Compassionate Use Act, was that specifically with respect to cannabis that it's regarding, or was it something more general? Or
I think it was just regarding the concept of the method of what you need to do. See a doctor, let the doctor recommend you, and then at that point you are eligible to get medical cannabis to experience, every part of it is just, it's more of, for a lot of us, it's like we don't know what's going to happen. But science is telling us, hey, do this, and you'll see improvements. You'll see better life, your life improving. So, that's what the Compassionate Use Act is, and all the other states that are coming out it's a Compassionate Use Act. And doctors don't prescribe medical cannabis; they recommend you to be in the program. So there's a difference. Prescriptions are for pharmaceutical drugs. Recommendations are for the medical cannabis program. So that's another thing in terms of the language of the act.
Yeah, that's important. Jordan Page made it a point to make that distinction. And that's right. I just looked up the Compassionate Use Act. You probably already said it, but I missed it. But it was a California law. I wasn't sure if it was a state law or a federal law, but a California law. And right, it's more, to me, it's a California act. Law, to me, the term law is we humans can't make, or men can't make laws. We make rules, like the rule of man versus the rule of law. And that's another part of the Declaration of Independence, talks about nature's law and natural law. So we as humans need to know that the act is just man's rules being imposed on us. So absolutely. And
something that I was asking earlier about what protections that people have, and you kind of alluded to monetary. What I was actually referring to is your legal foundation, because I've heard from you, and I guess from Jordan, that you guys will actually fight the legal fight for someone if they're arrested or if they have some kind of legal issue. How does that work?
Yeah, so when CannaScense formed, we set up a foundation also, and the foundation has 5 causes, one being legal defense, the other 4 being cancer research, children's medicine, veterans needs, and wellness centers. And the legal defense, of course, is put into place so that if someone was to be in compliance with the program and, of course, falling within what the Act states, then, of course, we're going to defend you. There are people out there that I've talked to, and I said it in a nice way, like, if you're driving your car, I don't think you need to have a pound of medicine on you. You can have a quarter ounce, you can probably have an ounce on you, and if a police officer sees you and sees you with a normal amount of medicine, he should respect that you need it for yourself. Because, again, in the Compassionate Use Act, anything that you're getting is for yourself and only for yourself, for your health. So CannaScense does have the legal defense fund, and we will help you defend yourself. I mean, at the same time, we don't think an officer of law who respects the Constitution, the rule of law, and, of course, the Compassionate Use Act would, of course, respect the person's health. And under New Jersey's Attorney General's notice, people should use the affirmative defense clause that says if a police officer pulls you over and you are a medical patient, you could say to the officer, I have an affirmative defense and that I have a medical ID card and I have my medicine. And at that point, they should respect that. And, of course, you should be free to go.
Wow. And that's in New Jersey, you said?
Yeah, that's the New Jersey's Attorney General's notice to the police force, so that people understand how does a police officer now interact with a true patient versus a person who's not a patient.
Gotcha. Well, do other states have anything similar that you're aware of?
I'm not familiar with other states in terms of what the Attorney Generals have put down, but again, I mean, I look at what the Attorney General said for New Jersey. I mean, their way to show enforcement on a medical patient is as long as they have a medical card, I mean, they're free to go. And I should assume all states should respect that as well.
Oh, well, I should hope so, but of course you never know. No. But at least that's good to hear about New Jersey.
Another question. When this stuff is being sent through the mail, is this going to be an issue for, say, your suppliers? 'Cause are you shipping from the supplier to the person, or are they shipping it to you and then you're shipping?
No, so suppliers or providers of medicine to the collective has to get the medicine to the collective, and then the collective disperses it to the patients, because the patients and the collective, or say this, CannaScense knows if you're in compliance or not. I actually besides being the CFO, I'm the chief compliance officer, so I know when the person's recommendation's expiring. Our program's actually set up so that if your recommendation expires, then your login to your account expires until you supply us with an updated recommendation.
That makes sense, just for everyone's safety, including the member. And
yes.
So you guys operate as or on behalf of the collective, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, my program is written so that it's sort of the software for a collective, so that you are literally being in compliance at all times.
Gotcha. Well, we're actually coming to break with Niel Schlosss. We've got 2 more segments with him. He's the CFO of CannaScense. Go to CannaScense.com. Pretty cool stuff, guys. This is going to be major going forward for all of us. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Stay tuned for the commercial we're going to run here in Austin.
That's right. When is that?
Let me tell you what I'm going to do. Okay. So I'm going to write the commercial and get it out on air. And then I'm going to start calling the news stations and saying, "Did you hear? There's a radio station advertising marijuana in this town." I'm going to report them to the news.
That's a great idea.
I'm going to report them to the news.
That's the way to do it, to get them to. Otherwise, they would not.
Yeah, so we'll see it'll be on like Channel 7 or whatever.
That's great.
My God.
This public service announcement.
Not only that, it does a lot of things. It's also going to get attention for the network. So that
good point. That could do really good for the network, actually. Because I'm sure there's a lot of people who would love to listen to the network if they only knew it existed.
Right.
You know?
A new study has found that
I had a radio show in Jersey for a while. We talked politics.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. It was great. We had a libertarian, inner city Trenton guy, and a CPA.
Those were the 3 different political views?
Well, the political views were very similar. We were all Ron Paul supporters. They were pretty active with us when his campaign was going on.
The risk of depression.
And it was a good diversity of just different people, so it was fun.
Well, since you're in New Jersey, how do you guys even have enough weed for the rest of the world with NJ being right there? I mean, he's not like using up all the weed, right?
Architects and engineers.
NJ Weedman.
Yeah.
We should have him back on.
Ed.
Ed.
I've sat down with Ed because I told him he's a pain in the ass. I said, I love you, man, but dude, like having a pound or 2 pounds on you when you're the patient, it's like you're just trying to poke at him. So I said, I love that you're doing it, but at the same time, I mean, you're just you're just trying to annoy them.
Yeah, I think I watched a video where he went in the courtroom and like sparked one up.
Yeah.
He goes to court and sits in the back and smokes one.
I presented at his place to the veterans. There was a whole veterans event at the Weed Man's place. So I went and did a speech to them on the program.
Just call 512-992-87.
Is anybody out of there using it or?
.com.
You know what's funny? There are so many people joining now. I know one person that was there signed up. I think maybe a few others. It was a small group, so. But it's a wow factor. People I still don't believe it.
Right.
So.
Discounts are based on.
But people are finally getting their minds wrapped around it and saying, I mean, it's the best option. It's efficient, effective.
You know, and well, something that Brock had actually mentioned too is like sometimes they'll just let this go, and then it's later when they come and pop you. So even though you are successful in this many states, you never. It might be a year from now when they decide to come and get you.
Well, at that point, public opinion has changed. It's changing so quick. So. I mean, and like I said, I'm not trying to. I'm a CPA. I have two boys, a wife, and I mean.
And so far there's been zero problems with the law, right?
Zero problems with the law. I mean, we've been approached, and then after they approach us, they're like, we can't believe you're real.
That was actually going to be one of my next questions. So let's bring that back on air. I'll ask that. Bring us back, Rick, when you're ready. Welcome back, guys, to the second to last segment of the Crypto Show with our guest, CFO at CannaScense, Niel Schlosss. And by the way, M. Night Shyamalan is coming out with a new movie called CannaScense, and the boy in it says, "I see stone people."
So what is CFO? We had Kevin McKiernan on, and he's CSO, Chief Smoke Officer. Oh, so if you're CFO, is it Chief Fire Up Officer or what?
Chief Fume Officer.
Yeah.
We could change that for that purpose. Yes, for this company.
Let's do it. By the way, thank you for the courtesy laugh. I appreciate that. Not even my co-host would give me that, but he did. Give us
funny.
That. Oh, well, thank you. Well, talking with Niel Schlosss, Chief Fume Officer or Fire Up Officer over at CannaScense. And, man, Neil, cut it out, man. We're on air. You need to... One toke is enough, sir. Well, one thing I like, by the way, Neil, about you and clearly the philosophy over there is, well, the emphasis on philosophy. Not just the law, but the philosophical underpinnings of the law and ultimately really the Constitution on which not just the United States government is based, but the whole United States ethos, if you will, and cultural identity is based on, or at least it used to be based on, this concept of human rights that are inviolable, that are given to us by God and aren't, legitimately subject to the changing whims of men and the rulemaking of men, but transcend that. And I think that's so important because so many people have gotten away from that basic understanding. And so the further away you get from that understanding, the easier it is to violate the laws that are based on that understanding. So I think it's really cool that you guys bring some of the emphasis into it. But getting back to one of my more sort of concrete questions, Danny had just kind of asked this off air, but for on-air listeners, now we talked about how CannaScense will come to the legal aid of their members, given the right circumstances. Have y'all had to do that thus far? And have y'all had to render any legal aid or had any legal issues? And also, how many users have y'all had?
I think we're over 700 now.
Wow.
With the different shows that are airing and people that are part of our program speaking out and getting onto radio shows and discussing it does help change the minds of others who have fear in themselves to say, you know what, this is right, and I'm going to do it. So, I mean, it's growing quicker and quicker and quicker. And, I mean, the fear I have is it grows too quick. And, of course, with a growing company, you just don't want to grow too quick, and it just everyone gets upset. So the growth for me is always scary because I'm in charge of the finance, I'm in charge of the compliance, I'm in charge of a lot of the function of this. But at the same time, it's naturally it's funny. It's naturally happening. I mean, my idea is just I talk to you guys, people hear it, they get excited, they do it, and then they can turn around and teach their friends or their family members that are sick. So,
Yeah.
but as far as incidents go, I mean, we've never had to deal with any legal things in court. I've dealt with stuff because, of course, I'm the one in the firing squad. So if something pops up, I get a call and I'm dealing with it. So, I mean, I had the postal inspector, had a nice conversation with him over the subject matter. He, of course, at the end said, Neil, you got to talk to your politicians, which I said, unfortunately, I've been in the Ron Paul campaign, and I know a lot of politicians really don't look out for the people. They're just in it for their own themselves. So you're just barking up the wrong tree, because of course it's not the people the politicians you have to fight. It's just understanding the law. And like you had said, Rick, being in the Ron Paul campaign or involved just in it opened my eyes to read books that I would never have read, like Basquiat, The Law, Common Sense by John Locke. I mean, Tom Wood's Economic Meltdown, and just a lot of Tom Wood's books.
Oh, I love Tom Woods. You guys have been on Tom Woods' show, right?
Yeah.
Jordan
was on it. Yeah. I've kind of been sitting behind the scenes doing the programming, kind of talking with Jordan on a daily basis to kind of help him wrap his head more around this whole program. Mm-hmm. Even though I should say he's got a really great grasp of it now. And at the same time, it never ends because there's always questions being posed to us from different angles. Mm-hmm. So.
Oh, and I think the last time I spoke to you, we discussed Dash, and I shot an email off, and I heard back. I guess they're going to be announcing tomorrow, but it may be a day or two before it's actually integrated into your site.
Okay, fantastic. So. And I'm looking forward to integrating it so that we can offer another competing currency against the Federal Reserve notes.
That's great.
That's right.
And, we are, of course, partnered with Dash. I mean, so we're a little biased, but Dash really is such an up-and-comer complementary altcoin to Bitcoin that has a lot of neat functionality. And better than Bitcoin, it has instant authorization. It has a quarter of the transaction time, and really shorter than that with how the block has been backed up and stuff. And we're really excited. I think it's a really big step forward for you guys to start accepting Dash. And speaking of accepting Bitcoin, how do you pay with Bitcoin on your site? Is there like a QR code in your checkout, or is it pretty easy?
I mean, I think it is. I think when you get to your checkout, you have your choice of pay by cash or check, pay by PayPal or credit card, or pay by Bitcoin. So it's a radial button. You just click, accept the terms, click on proceed to checkout, and then it'll pop up the QR code reader.
Well, that kind of makes you guys like one of the only ones that you can actually purchase with a credit card?
Yeah.
Because
I mean, remember, we're a legally compliant company. So
right. But I mean, like if you go into a dispensary, you can't use a credit card because those guys don't have bank accounts.
Times are changing, and I think more banks will accept it. More companies will say, "Why are we sitting back? We have to change our policy." But with the big banks, I mean, to change policy doesn't just happen overnight.
Right, that's true.
I mean, luckily for me, being a small accounting firm and a consultant and technologist, I could change with the wind, especially when I know it's right. But
that's true. You're a little more nimble, maybe, than some of the other companies out there.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, it's a kind of test of confidence that you guys do accept credit cards, because clearly the credit card issuers have enough faith in your compliance that they're willing to do that. So that's very encouraging. And by the way, the doctors, do you recommend doctors at all, or is it just people choose their own doctors in their own sort of insurance network, or how does that work? And then are you aware of any California doctors that accept Bitcoin?
I don't know any doctors that accept Bitcoin at this time, but being the CPA, I'll probably end up starting to discuss these subject matters with them. So the doctor, I mean, we are essentially, I wouldn't say partnered with Presto Doctor, but Presto was it's a great telemedicine company that we had spoken to, explained to them our company philosophy and procedures and policies, and they were very excited to allow us to tie everything together. The founders of Presto Doctor are two great guys, and they, being that I'm a technologist also, it's kind of like we can geek speak together. we could say, please put this button here so it ties here, and it just makes it so efficient. So we ultimately have, quote, partnered with them in that concept so that we send them to that independent doctor. They get to choose the doctor in that program, and then do the telemedicine visit with them.
And are they called Presto Doctors because they're also magicians, or what?
No, I could say with this whole movement, there have been signs that have happened, and having Presto Doctor, being that I had a magic store and I love magic, just made it even more perfect to this whole model.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So there's been some kind of synchronicity and symbolism that kind of tells you that you're on the right path, including that. That's kind of neat.
Oh, absolutely. There's been plenty of that throughout this whole time, for me, I should say.
I think that's really kind of cool in a mystical way, and I think encouraging.
And he's trying to make people's pain disappear.
Exactly. Voila.
Yes.
Well, we're coming to break. I actually want to talk to you about magic on the other side for a minute or two, if we can, in our final segment. But we'll be right back with Niel Schlosss.
Through advances in technology, our
should we break out the real bong?
Except
that wasn't a real one?
Nice. I'll have to come out to Texas.
Oh, yeah, man. Hell yeah.
So what we're trying to do is go out and educate them on actually the steps, like following the proper steps within our program.
Products.
So like I said, the understanding of the welcome kits so that you really can describe it to someone very easily.
Yeah, let's definitely get right into that, Chris, about understanding the kits and what comes with them. Because when you go in there and look at it, I was kind of bewildered. I'm like, well, wait a minute, what does this mean? Am I getting my doctor's visit with this? I didn't really understand.
Gotcha.
So, that guys could probably actually work on that a little bit on.
Okay.
Explaining that on the website. It's kind of it's very unclear when I go there, and of course somebody that smokes all the time would probably know better. Because I didn't even know what until I looked at your site. I had no idea that buds were called flowers now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're always trying to change the language, like jurisdictional language, right?
Right.
I mean, it is flowers, because remember, if you want to decarboxylate the flowers to heighten the THC effect, I mean, it's just like, or FLOUR, like the flour you make food with.
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's right. Because another guy was telling me earlier, I was talking to one of the guys I'm going to be meeting in Colorado, and he says that you can't legally say grams, you have to say drams with a D for it to be legal. Yeah, DRAM.
So I feel like I've heard that.
Yeah. Whatever. I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's funny. Speak the right way, and you're in jurisdiction.
Wow. You need a small handbook that has these terms, so people can go in. Okay.
Or you have people,
cannabis,
or you have the other side just say, listen, it's
just
whatever
an app,
way you speak.
An app on your phone that translates it into legal.
Yeah. Like,
Talk to legalese text.
Right. Yeah. All right. You ready?
All right. Bring us back. All right, guys, welcome back to the Crypto Show. It is our last segment with Niel Schlosss, CFO, Chief Fumigation Officer at CannaScense. Go to CannaScense.com to check out more of what they have to offer. Niel, I told you, quit it, man.
It's my last one, man.
Last one, you promise?
I'm heading to Atlanta tomorrow, so yeah, last one.
Okay, fair
Nice.
enough. You know, that's plane rides are never fun, so you need a little relaxation to help, so I understand.
He's going to an event, a 420 event in Atlanta.
Oh, cool.
Apparently they're going to march or something.
Well, that'd be cool. We should go. Let's go right now. Forget Colorado.
I'm going to Colorado.
All right, I'll go to Atlanta. We'll meet up halfway back in Austin.
Nice.
Well, let's tell us about the product offering. Now, Danny mentioned there's some sort of package. Is this sort of a standard package that you offer along with other options for people, or what can people expect starting out if they want to get something through CannaScense?
Yeah, it's very simple. Once you get your recommendation and give us that recommendation in a PDF format, we open up the apothecary to you, which the apothecary was the old term for the pharmacy, and when the apothecaries existed, that's when medical cannabis was also sold in the day before Prohibition.
Oh,
so
that.
I'm trying to bring back the old school, right? So the apothecary offers all different products, all different delivery methods. You have your vaporizers, you have your flowers, you have edibles, tinctures, lotions, you'll have topicals, you'll have sublingual options, but then, of course, you have a welcome kit option. And the welcome kit is a one-time purchase, $420, and that gets you essentially an ounce of medicine. And there's 6 options. So to quickly go through them, to me, it's pretty easy. Welcome Kit 1 is 1 ounce of one strain of one flower. Welcome Kit 4 is 4 quarter ounces of 4 different strains, or you can do 2 and 2, you can do 3 and 1. It's up to you. Welcome Kit 6 is customized, sort of pick your own out, and if it's within that range of the 420, you get that. 2, 3, and 5 deal with the oils, the vaporizer oils, the e-juice oils, and the concentrated oils. So most people will typically pick Welcome Kit 6 because it's just a very easy thing. You know, you can customize your order. And with people that are coming in with different ailments, we do want them to try different things. And also, if they do have a certain ailment, we do like to kind of say, hey, look, we're more aware of patients that have had cancer going with this method. So just pick 6. We call you up, or you can fill within the order notes what items you would like. If you don't, then, of course, our fulfillment center will reach out to you and kind of help you make the decisions so that, of course, you can get the welcome kit. Once you do buy the welcome kit, then, of course, it's just discounted medicine, plus also opening up an opportunity to get compensated under the Compassionate Use Act of '96, which allows us to compensate caregivers in our program.
Yeah, and speaking of that compensation, I was going to ask you about that. Explain that real quick.
So compensation, in the simplest terms, is someone that helps someone go through the process, become a patient in our program, and then the patient buys a welcome kit. $75 of that $420 goes back to the sponsor because, of course, they spent the time with the patient, helped them go through the process, and, of course, they need to get compensated for the time they put into it.
Wow.
And the second part, of course, is if you are a member. So if you do buy a welcome kit and you are a member, you have the opportunity to receive bonuses from our company. So we have a compensation guide that explains how the bonus structure works. And at the end of each month, we determine the activity for that month. And on the 15th of the following month, checks are cut for the bonuses, checks are cut for the welcome kit compensation, and then they go out to the people who are sponsors.
So I got like 100 people to buy a welcome kit. Where's my check?
It'll come when I see it show up in my program that I wrote to calculate it all.
Oh, he's good.
Like,
Is
he's good. You can't fool him. I'm
Is-
just kidding.
Yeah.
Is the initial?
I have to make sure there's an audit trail to it.
No, fair enough.
Is the initial welcome kit? Does that cover the visit for the doctor's visit, or?
No, the doctor visit is a separate entity, independent of our company. It would seem pretty crazy for us to have the doctor, the medicine. It's like it would be essentially collusion in my mind as a CPA. So it is an independent doctor seeing you. HIPAA laws cover that. So the privacy of the conversation you have with the doctor is between you and the doctor.
But do you facilitate the doctor's visit, or?
We facilitate it because we just guide you through the program that just takes you to their site, gets you signed in through their process. And of course, we're also here to answer people's questions. Like, we have an 800 number with customer service, so if you're having trouble making your doctor's appointment, you can call us and we'll help you with that as well.
What can someone expect as a price in general for a doctor's visit?
So the doctor visit price at the start is $69.99, but if you go through our program and you pick one of the causes, you'll get a $4.20 discount because we like $4.20. And then in addition, when you're going to see the doctor, you pick the cause, and then Presto Doctor is making a contribution back into the foundation for $4.20 to the cause that you had picked.
Oh, that's really neat. So you get a discount and a donation is made as well.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And it says that you have to renew every year. Is that right for the doctor?
Yes.
Recommendation eligibility.
Yes. So and when you join with us, we put in your file when your expiration expires. So when you sign into your dashboard on our site, it'll tell you when your expiration occurs. Which then, of course, we have the button just to send you right back to the doctor and renew the recommendation. But so it's $69.99 less $4.20, so it's about $66 just rounded up to see the doctor the first time, and then on the renewal it's $49.99. And again, if you go through our site, you'll get the $4.20 discount, so it's about $46 for renewals.
Awesome, that's pretty cheap. That's cheaper than honestly, a regular doctor's appointment.
How often do you have to do renewals?
Once a year.
Oh, okay.
And by the way, they have everything. If you go to the site under the education, they've got flour, they've got vape pens, capsules, gel caps, tinctures, sublingual sprays, edibles, cannabis teas, juices, topicals and salves, and cannabis oil extracts. I mean, they have like every single thing you can imagine.
What about Doritos?
Yes.
Do y'all have Doritos?
Do you have Doritos?
No, we're a health company, so we prefer to give you like
saying.
We are a health company, so we do want to provide the healthy food, of course.
What, and Doritos isn't a health company?
Well, if anybody listening is at any of the dispensaries I happen to be at tomorrow, get your free Doritos.
He is. For real, he's going to be giving away Dash sponsored Doritos with a little Dash tag on it. So get ready. Yeah. Get ready, Colorado. Here he comes. All I know is...
guys,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, so if you go to the website, there's an education tab, fantastic amount of information. At the bottom are hyperlinks to other sites that we felt were great sites for information. Also on the education page, about 3/4 of the way down is a graph from SC Labs. It's the laboratory we do some of our testing with. And if you look at that chart, you can really determine which chemical compound is best for you, for your ailment. You'll notice that CBD is really a very important component to introduce back into your body. Under the Perspectives tab, we have interviews that have been done. We, of course, have Jordan's Page's interview with you guys, which is on that site under the Perspectives tab. The Apothecary tab is so that you can actually view the shop, see what items we offer. But, of course, you can't purchase any of the medicine if you're not a valid patient. You can purchase some of the items like a T-shirt, make a donation to the foundation, buy medical cannabis caregiver cards, and you can buy vaporizers there. And then, of course, once you're a patient, that's where you have to sign into your own account so that it records the transaction for yourself so that at the end of the year you can calculate how much medical expense you've incurred. And as a CPA, the advice would be take it on your Schedule A and take it as a medical expense, so that you get the tax benefit of the incurrence of a medical cost. So,
excellent, great advice. Any other? We got about 2 minutes left. Any other last contact points or points of reference to tell our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for us is anyone that joins gets assigned a number, and that number is just a way for you to promote the concept to others. With you guys at the crypto show, you guys had posted a hyperlink that takes you right to the registration form, and I mean, if you go through that, you'll see their number show up in the registration form, so that the crypto show gets credit, because we do appreciate everyone who's doing this, and at that point, of course, it's a way for them to help others.
So just go to the crypto show's website and click on the CannaScense link on the right, and it'll take you right to the page.
Let's do it. A little over a minute left. I want to thank Niel Schlosss, CFO over at CannaScense. Go to CannaScense.com. Check it out. And definitely, if you're going to order from them, order a welcome kit through the CryptoShow.com website. We'd appreciate it. Last thing, Neil, you're a magician. It said, I went to I was a counselor at a magic camp when I was in junior high and high school. At the time, it was one of only 2 magic camps in the country, I think. How'd you become?
Tannins?
Huh?
Did you go to Tannins?
No, it was called the Magic Camp by the fantastic Kent Cummins. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a local Austin magician.
I'm on the East Coast, so I don't know the magicians out there.
Oh no, fair enough. I mean, it's both a big world and a small world. I wasn't sure if you would, but you can tell me off air because we only got like 30 seconds left. But Neil, it's been a pleasure. Great interview. You're no wonder you used to do radio. It totally shows. But we appreciate all the information and help for our listeners, and we wish you guys the best of success.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate you having me on.
No problem, and we'll probably have you guys on again in the near future. So stay tuned, Crypto Show listeners, for more on our next show. We'll see you then.
And Chris was actually one of the top-rated magicians there.
No, I wasn't actually.
You were. You made all the food disappear.
That's true. That is true, actually.
Yeah. Hey, Rick. So I opened the magic store in my town, and I had some really great musicians come in. And I loved magic for a long time. So
any like bigwigs or anyone I might know that or have heard of rather?
I don't know if you would know the kid, but he helped. Like he worked with Chris Angel. Like he was the magician that worked with other magicians. So
his name is the Kid.
His name is Matt Schick.
Call us toll free.
Sounds
really talented magician.
Sounds familiar, but I don't know if I'm that familiar.
Yeah. No, I mean, I had at my birthday party when I was a little kid, David Copperfield.
No way. Well, I actually met. God, what was his name? He was David Copperfield's mentor.
Ghost Radio.
Oh man, he actually came to the camp once and performed, and I don't remember his name. But that's really neat. How did you get David Copperfield at your birthday party?
He was he lived in Metuchen. I lived in Edison, which is the town over.
Is that all it takes? It's got to be town neighbors. That's kind of cool.
He was just a young kid. It was before he was known. Like he was this kid doing magic, and he did birthday parties.
That is so cool. Do you have pictures or video or anything?
No, it was a long time ago. I had other magicians that did parties that we have pictures of, but that was like a long time ago.
Plus, he sucked back then.
How long did you have your store open for?
We had it open for, I would say, 3 years.
Easter Island.
And it just was like, I mean, I lost money every year, but I loved it. I mean, it was just fun having a kid come in and have the smiles on their faces.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but I was lucky enough to have a successful accounting firm that was able to support that. And like I said, at the end, I do magic now with what we're doing now. CannaScense is definitely a great magical trick. So.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Well, that's really cool. I mean, even though it didn't make money, I mean, that's really cool to say you owned a magic shop for 3 years because even back when I was young, those were few and far between, let alone these days where, specialty shops are rarer because of, the internet and stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, but gentlemen, it was awesome. I really appreciate being on the show.
No, we appreciate it too. It went very well, and I thought it was great. And are y'all going to put this one up on the site too, or?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm going to try have as much of the publicity